Hello, my name is Gina Voigt, and welcome to today's volunteer informational webinar. My information is here on the screen and will be shown again at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions or need further information, please feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. So you're interested in being a volunteer. We're going to cover some of the most common questions that are asked when becoming a volunteer. These questions are: what are the difference between home health, palliative, and hospice care? How you could help the patients and their families? What are the benefits, expectations, and commitments? How Gulfside Healthcare Services is protecting our volunteers from COVID? And if you have any questions, how we could address those. So what is the difference between home health, palliative, and hospice care? Home health care is a service focused on therapy and nursing care primarily. And this is to help patients overcome an injury or an illness. These are dealing with curable conditions for patients who are looking to get better. Palliative care is a service that focuses on pain and symptom management for a patient with a life-limiting illness. This service is for patients with illnesses such as cancer or COPD that may become terminal, but the patient is still willing to attempt curative treatment. Hospice care is a service that focuses on the pain and symptom management to the extent of lessening emotional, physical, social, spiritual discomforts. If the individual has been diagnosed with a terminal illness and has been medically determined to have 6 months or less to live. So how can volunteers help patients and their families? Let's discuss some details. We have opportunities for everyone, such as companionship and respite, PACS and CSS calls, veteran to veteran program, pet peace of mind, musicians, and so much more. We even have non-patient facing roles such as office administration, kitchen, thrift shops, events, and crafts. I will note that the kitchen sometimes is patient facing, whereas you may help the chef deliver food to the patient rooms. So let's go over each of these roles and what it entails. Respite and companionship. Respite is when you're allowing a caregiver to take essential time to get away from the constant view of the patient. So this allows them to go to a doctor's appointment, grocery shopping, whatever it is they might need. Maybe they just need to go for a drive or clear their mind. And with the companionship, the caregiver would stay in the home. Either way, you would engage in conversation, play card games, read to the patient, just keeping them company, sit with them and keep them company. Gift of Presence is a specialized group of our volunteers who, at the same time as being in a companion, these volunteers would actually go when a patient is in their very final hours, yet alone. So sometimes our patients do not have a caregiver that lives with them, and we don't want anyone to die alone. So these volunteers are willing to sit with our patients and be with them so they don't die alone. We do have veteran to veteran program, which again falls under respite and companionship. The difference is that we would align a veteran patient with a veteran volunteer. So together they have that camaraderie and can understand and relate to the unique needs of our veterans. We also do special pinning ceremonies to honor our veterans as well. Pet peace of mind is when you could bring your certified support animal to patients who need that comfort in a furry friend. It's unbelievable the difference that just petting a dog or even a horse could bring to that patient. Spiritual care, some of our patients and their families ask for someone to come and read scripture with them, pray with them. Some of our volunteers even offer communion. This is the way they can help comfort spiritual needs. We have musicians and craft volunteers as well. And again, this kind of falls under the spiritual needs, singing or playing an instrument for a patient or doing art with them, kind of gives a spiritual therapy and helps them to have emotional security. Our indirect patient care volunteer roles in the office, you do administrative tasks such as building admission packets, putting together mailings, data entry and filing. Our kitchen assistant, again, it's under indirect. However, sometimes there is delivering the food to the patient rooms, but the majority of the volunteering would be in the kitchen, prepping food, chopping, cutting, mixing, baking, that types of stuff. Most of the meals in the kitchen are very simple, such as soups and sandwiches. They're not gourmet meals. Arts and crafts, you can do that outside of patient care. You can make cards or create items to give to the patients. We have some volunteers that crochet lap gowns and hats and slippers, and cards, stuff like that to give to them. Our community volunteers and event volunteers, oftentimes Gulfside has events or recruiting events, and you would assist outdoors in these events to help recruit volunteers or educate people about our company. And then, of course, we have our thrift stores. There are 5 throughout the county that could always use help of a volunteer. Some benefits of being a volunteer with Gulfside: we do have quarterly gatherings for our patient care volunteers. These gatherings just kind of bring everyone together. It's always themed with food and we have fun. And then it also offers some updated information, any type of policies that were updated. We always communicate those in multiple ways. We communicate via email, phone calls, but our quarterly meetings are the best way to get one-on-one personal information as well. Plus you get to meet other volunteers. All of our volunteers receive a 25% off discount at all of our thrift shops, regardless of where and how you're volunteering. Students can fulfill service hours for their scholarships or grants by volunteering with us. Training, we give training to all of our volunteers, whether it be with patients or in the thrift stores. You do get free access to our online learning management where your training is held. And in that portal, there's additional trainings that you could use to feed your intelligence, such as learning more about Microsoft programs or whatever it is you're interested in learning. There's a whole catalog of information. Volunteer appreciation celebrations. Gulfside recognizes Volunteer Appreciation Month in April every year. And we do a special appreciation event in April every year for our volunteers. Some expectations that we have of our volunteers is a desire to commit your time and heart. We understand that not all volunteers have a whole lot of time and some have a lot more time. But if you say, I'm going to commit to 1 Tuesday a month, we ask that you actually commit to that. Have integrity, make sure you're doing the right thing at all times, just as we do as employees. Complete your onboarding and training requirements, adhere to compliant policies and procedures, and become part of our family. We like to have you as part of our culture, and not just someone who comes to work for us. So our desire is really for every volunteer to find purpose and fulfillment in their service with us. Volunteering with Gulfside is an incredibly rewarding and special experience. It's not just a job. Some of our family testimonies, we have Dexter, who's one of our veteran volunteers. He says, my name is Dexter and I volunteer because I want to continue to help fellow veterans and their families. To me, volunteering for veteran pinning ceremonies at times helps me to relive my past as a soldier in the U.S. Army. The families are very grateful when they and their loved ones are recognized for their military service. And the ceremonies are beautiful and done with military precision. The families appreciate our presence and recognition. And Kathy is one of our Gift of Presence volunteers. She says, I realize how precious each moment of life really is. So when I sit with someone, it fills my heart with love and compassion for that life in front of me. It gives passion and purpose to my life to assist in a smoother and peaceful transition of a patient with a terminal illness, knowing they will soon be at peace. Often friends and acquaintances will comment after learning I am a volunteer for hospice, how wonderful that is, but they could never do it. And that may be true. However, I can tell you from my experience, it is an honor to be asked to be part of someone's life, and volunteering for Gulfside Hospice is a very gratifying part of my life. I am so happy to be able to give support. Gulfside does follow the CDC guidelines. So safety is number one for us, for employees, volunteers, patients, and families. We have a dedicated infection prevention program and staying abreast of CDC recommendations. We take every precaution during this pandemic that we're still in. All volunteers receive infection prevention training, necessary personal protective equipment, and hand hygiene supplies. And visits and activities are adjusted to meet the comfort level of individual volunteers. What this means is we do train you on how to use hand sanitizer properly, how to wear a mask properly, and we provide all of those supplies for you. As COVID numbers rise up or lower, we may change the required protective equipment that needs to be worn. Sometimes it's just a mask, sometimes it's mask and face shield, but we always make sure that everyone's health is a priority and we're keeping everyone as safe as possible. We will never send a volunteer into a patient's home or facility knowing that a patient has COVID. No volunteers will ever be allowed to see a patient that we know has COVID. So some initial steps to become a volunteer today would be your meet and greet with the volunteer outreach specialist. That's me. After this, we would schedule an onboarding with a volunteer coordinator. During the onboarding, you would fill out paperwork that's required, which would be the application, policies, would go over procedures, and have you do all of the paperwork, sign for your background check. We will assign you online education courses dependent on your role and what's required for that role. A background check and fingerprint is completed by you at no cost to you. We will pay for it. And if you will be sharing airspace with a patient at any time, we do require a TB test. And again, you would make the appointment, but we would not have you pay for it. We pay for it. And then after that, you would have a day one appointment that would complete all of your training. So what's next is you would schedule an onboarding with a volunteer coordinator, and that could be done through me. So you would just give me a call at 813-995-4617. We'll talk about your volunteer goals, what you're interested in doing, make sure it's a right fit for you, and then schedule that appointment. During that appointment, like I said, you'll go over your paperwork, sign what's needed, and be able to start your training. The training in total is depending on your role. So some volunteers have more training than others, but it's mainly just a one-time training. Annually, you just have required trainings by law, such as HIPAA, patient rights, which are short courses. The rest of it is just initial. But we could talk about that based on your role when we discuss it in person. So again, I appreciate you for joining me today. I hope this has given you the information you were looking for. If you have any questions, again, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I don't ever want anyone to go away thinking that this could be dangerous or worrisome. We do have all of the needed precautions in place, both for safety and for health. So go ahead and give me a call or send me an email, and I would love to meet you and speak with you. I hope you have a great day, and thank you again.